citizens of humanity. Welcome to Bits and Scripts, the YouTube channel where media literacy has not died yet. I'm Derek. How are you? I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. And today's topic is going to be about the controversy around the Acolyte Episode 3. Now, I'm not going to be reviewing the series or anything because I don't believe in reviewing a series until it's all the way through. So I just want to talk about this one specific episode because the fandom is in an uproar about a couple of things. And we're going to break those things down for them in a way that they can possibly understand. So here we have an article by Forbes titled The Acolyte Episode 3 Controversy Explained. Now, it is quite a controversy what happened in the episode, or at least among that corner of the fan base. But a lot of fans are kind of pleased with the show and appreciate the lore that the show is trying to add to the already established lore. And I don't think it breaks the lore at all or changes the lore at all. I'm amongst those who think that it's a fine addition to it and that there's nothing wrong with what they're doing here. But let's get into this. Episode 3 of Disney's newest Star Wars series, The Acolyte, introduces a new group of Force users to the galaxy, sparking backlash from some fans who accuse the series of breaking canon. Now, that's talking about Anakin's story of being conceived by the Force and Shmi having a virgin birth. And honestly, nothing this episode does takes away from it. I can understand some of the confusion, but if you were to really pay attention to the episode and to how things are described and how things happen, then it's really not that much of a complication, you know? On Rotten Tomatoes, you know, the most accurate measurement of quality a show has, the show's favorable critic score stands in stark contrast to its dismal audience score. And here's a tweet by, I'm not calling it an X, from JR Joking. I thought the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte were solid, good, not spectacular, but enough to get my attention and keep me watching. Which is fair for the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte. The first 2 episodes are kind of slow, but this is more of a murder mystery show, so it kind of progresses and picks up as it goes along, and as every murder mystery does. I mean, even like murder documentaries do that. I simply cannot fathom this audience response. There's simply nothing in the show itself, in my opinion, that merits this level of hate. And right here we have the Rotten Tomatoes standing of The Acolyte. This is the picture that they captured. I'm pretty sure this part is different right now. The critic meter stands at 91, but this has just been getting lower and lower because of what I believe to be review bombing. And a lot of people are going to come into these comments and say, oh no, it's not review bombing, it's just no one likes this show. Yes, people like this show. If you go on social medias other than Twitter, that is just a toxic cesspool in general. If you go on TikTok, you'll see lots of love for this show, and just like a very small minority just speaking out against it and crying over it. What happens in Episode 3 of The Acolyte? Episode 3 of The Acolyte, titled Destiny, explores the backstory of twin protagonists, Osha and May. I would not call May a protagonist. May is more of one of the few antagonists. Like, yes, we've only had the 3 episodes and we only know of like the 2 or 3 antagonists so far, but I'm pretty sure there's an antagonist or 2 in the Jedi. Like, this show like is very adamant on showing the arrogance of the Jedi and how they are wrong in some of the things they do and how they act self-righteously. Anyway, showing how the 2 were raised in a cult-like coven of witches on the planet Brendok before being separated after disruptive Jedi intervention. Now, I will say about them being raised by the witches seem to be like very loving towards them. Well, the Zabrak is kind of like strict, and she even says so in the show that they need like a strict hand. They need to know discipline and stuff, like which is true. All kids need to know a form of discipline, but she's just kind of a tight ass, and the other mother is, the one that, like, yeah, they're kids, they don't know any better, this is their learning stage. The witches view the Force differently from the Jedi, dubbing it the thread. Now, this is where some fans are getting upset. One of the things that fans are getting upset about is that they think that they're changing the lore of the Force, changing the name to the thread. No, there's more in Star Wars lore. There are more religions than just the Jedi and the Sith. The Jedi and the Sith both think the Force belonged to them, and they are the sole wielders of that power, and they are the sole practices of that religion, which is not true. There are other religions that practice the Force, that know of the Force, and have their variations of how they explain the Force and how they use it. Like the Witches of Dathomir is a fine example. And even in Legends material, like there is like some different uses of the Force, and I believe in Legends that there are like other religions that are explored. But yeah, this Coven of Witches is pretty much just another religion that explores the Force. And what the one mother is explaining, I forgot the name of the one mother that's explaining the stuff to them, but I'm pretty sure it's going to say later in the article. But the way she's explaining it to the twins is like it's a thread that binds everyone together, and it's kind of like how Obi-Wan and Yoda explain it in the original trilogy. That the Force is, an energy field that binds and unifies everything and surrounds everything. And the explanations that the witch gives about the Force, or the thread as they call it, I mean, it's really no different. It's the same. Yeah. The witches view the Force differently from the Jedi, dubbing it the thread and seemingly viewing it as something that cannot be controlled, only pulled in a certain direction. To be fair, the Jedi and Sith try to pull the Force in separate directions as well. I mean, again, all these religions practice and believe in the Force in different ways. The idea of different religions inspired by the Force isn't new to the Star Wars franchise, see? But the Acolyte is the first time that splintering Star Wars belief systems have been shown in live action, and that's mostly because, like, what we've seen of Star Wars so far, besides some of the shows, like I'm talking about the mainline story in the films, it's the Skywalker story, and like the Force is kind of explained in a way just to tie in and surround the Skywalker story. But these other shows, especially one like the Acolyte that explores a different time in the galaxy, the High Republic, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting material of events that take place even before then, maybe hundreds, thousands of years, millions of years before this, and it's just going to explore the Force more. And we have to be open-minded about how they're going to explore the Force, because in the films, like, the Force is like kind of we have a very limited explanation of it and very limited understanding. Like, it's like Palpatine says, like, the Jedi have a dogmatic view of the Force, and so do the Sith. Like, the Sith have their own view of the Force. The Sith think the Force belongs to them in the form of the dark side, and the Jedi think the Force belongs to them. It can only be wielded by them, and it has to be kept in the light. And there is a Legends comic series that explores the dawn of the Jedi, the beginning of the Jedi Order, the Jedi, and they practice in both the light and the dark. I mean, it's not like they're throwing Force lightning at each other or anything like that. It's just that they understand that there is a balance, and the way they practice the Force has to remain in that balance. So it seems like there's going to be elements of this show that kind of hint at that, but who knows? It's only 3 episodes. I mean, this is why I don't like to review shows based on just a couple episodes, because we don't have the whole story yet. Anyway, let's get back further in here. In the all-female coven, the question of who fathered the twins gives way to a surprising answer: the Force, or rather, the thread. Like Anakin Skywalker, the twins appear to be the result of an immaculate conception carried by term by Mother Coral. Now, I see the article's going to get into this. This is where, like, that side of the fandom is having their big tantrum. Because, it undermines Anakin's story. First of all, I want to say, stop holding Anakin as the golden boy of Star Wars. Stop holding him as the golden standard. I mean, his story is just but one story. His and Luke's and his family's is just but one story in the Star Wars franchise. That's why we're breaking off into new stories, and we're going to be seeing different things throughout time. Like, there's going to be the Rey Jedi Order movie. Hopefully that they don't talk about Skywalkers or like involve it being important to the Skywalker lineage. And then we're getting the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. We're getting the Jedi beginnings, the beginnings of the Force and the Jedi. And I'm pretty sure in that film, where we're going to see the beginnings of everything, we're going to get an even broader view of the Force. We're going to get even more, like, a bigger understanding of what it is than we have now through the films, through the shows, and even through the Acolyte. Because, again, there are multiple religions, and who knows how Force users in the beginning, at the dawn of the Jedi, at the dawn of Force users, who knows how they viewed the Force and how they used it. So I'm excited to see that film develop. Unlike Anakin, who was canonically created by the unknowable will of the Force, the twins appear to have been the result of some kind of experience with Mother Anastasia. Yeah, that's like the lenient mother that the twins have. That I can't even compare her to Bandit and Bluey, but she's more lenient with them. Like, she's not as strict. She doesn't have a stick up her ass. After the Jedi asked to test the Force sensitivity of the twins, the growing rift between the two children widens, with Osha seeking to join the Jedi and May demanding they both stay in the Coven. Now, going back to this whole thing of the twins being created by the Force. Yes, Anakin was created by the Force. Yes, these twins were created by the Force. But like this article says, the big difference between Anakin and these twins is that the twins were created by a person wielding the Force. The Force created Anakin out of its own will and impregnated Shmi Skywalker and used her as the vessel to carry him. Just like Anastasia conceived these girls and had Coral carry them. Is it Mother Coral? I need to look that up again because I'm terrible with names. Yeah, Mother Coral. So, I mean, there are stark differences between the witch twins and Anakin. Anakin's story is still intact. Anakin is still special. He was still conceived of the Force. These twins are children of these witches. Anakin is a child of the Force. So there is that difference between them. While the witches lean toward the dark side of the Force, the Jedi don't seem on the right side of history. Now, we can't really say that they lean towards dark side because these different religions don't view the Force the same as the Jedi or the Sith. Some of these religions, and I'm thinking that this coven of witches kind of work with the balance of the Force of both light and dark, because it's not like these witches were using Force lightning or anything, and plus Mother Anastasia didn't believe in violence, so I wouldn't say that they lean towards the dark side. They radiate with sinister vibes. I wouldn't say they radiate with sinister vibes. They were just afraid of the Jedi because they didn't want them to take the children away, politely insisting that they have the Force-given right to take the twins away from their home planet. The Jedi were saying that they have the Force-given right to take the twins away. And interestingly enough, you know how we all have that preconceived notion that the Jedi just steal children, or they just take children against the parents' will or the parents' wishes. This episode of the Acolyte kind of proves us all wrong, because Sol and Dara and the other Jedi, like, they are very clear that, yeah, they want to take the twins to be tested. Yeah, they wish to train the twins as Jedi. However, they want to do so with the consent of the twins and with the consent of the mothers. It's not like they came in lightsabers blazing and they were going to just take the children from them. They might not force the children to come, but they do pressure them. I wouldn't say they pressure them. I mean, Osha already knows that she doesn't want to be a witch and that she just wants something different for herself. One even hands Osha, that is, I always forget his name, but it's the one that presumably trains her. One even hands Osha a lightsaber. Sol. Osha a lightsaber as though the deadly blade is a toy. I mean, it was just more of a friendly gesture, like, hey, look, I mean no harm, you could have one too if you became a Jedi, but the choice is still yours, That's pretty much what that scene was trying to convey. Disorienting plot twist. I'm sorry, I can't talk. The entire coven of witches appears to die from a fire that may started by accident. Now, there's a lot of speculation about this event, that the witches didn't die from that fire. Like, there's something else that goes on. And the Jedi do kind of have this vibe among them after they rescue Osha that, they had something to do with it. They're just keeping a secret. And I mean, there's a reason why Indara's Padawan took a vow of silence and meditation, because something happened there and he's not allowed to talk about it. He wants to talk about it, but he just has a guilty conscience about it. It's obvious that there's another side to the story. Yeah, there definitely is, but it's too early to draw conclusions. Again, it's only 3 episodes in. What sparked the backlash to episode 3 of The Acolyte? First off, there's the anti-woke fans. That's that corner of the fan base that I was talking about. And content creators who dislike the show's diverse cast and LGBTQ themes, claiming that the franchise is booting their male fan base, which that's their point of view, because, listen, the reason I started this channel is because there's so many commentary channels that would have you believe that there's this agenda that Disney hates white people and they hate men and stuff like that. And it's not true. It's just yes, there are some films where the messaging does overtake the story. I'm not going to deny that. But here in Star Wars, that really hasn't been the case. And these people, these influencers and these YouTubers, they inject that agenda into it with their own words. It's not like the agenda is no more white men, no more straight people. It's just these content creators and these influencers that want you to believe that there's an agenda, that they want you to believe that Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Disney is against you, because that's their narrative. They make money off of making rage bait because, it pays a big cha-ching. Like, if you typed in Star Wars into the search bar on YouTube here, you would find a lot of videos that bash Star Wars, that talk about the woke crap and stuff like that. And that's because that content makes money. Some of these creators do not believe the things that they say in these videos. They will turn off the camera and their personalities are completely different. Their views are completely different as to what they are on camera. Anyway, let's move on. This segment of the fandom has been stoking culture war grievances since The Last Jedi, with melodramatic critique and frantic thumbnails of anti-woke YouTubers being something of a meme at this point. Now, here's this tweet by, I cannot pronounce his name. Haven't seen The Acolyte, but saw someone get riled up in a conversation about Deadpool because there are gay witches who use the Force to make babies. now, and Disney is destroying something. First of all, that's cool. Second, that's how Darth Vader was born, you dork. And yeah, there's some people that fight back against that comment. I'm not going to deny that. Like, I've seen a lot of comments on the Star Wars Twitter and people's accounts that enjoy the Acolyte and enjoy Star Wars. Here's another tweet by David. I wish YouTube could stop. I can't read that word. Star Wars bad video recommending Star Wars bad videos as I've never watched one. But I do love how this thumbnail has Ryan as the person George is mad at, as if JJ didn't begin and end the trilogy. Plus, George not liking the ST is old news. And George said TLG was beautifully made, which, yeah, he did. Repetitive identity fixations aside, some Star Wars fans have accused the Acolyte of breaking canon and reducing the significance of Anakin Skywalker, as Anakin was believed to be uniquely conceived. His creation, tied to his destiny as the Chosen One, fated to bring balance to the universe. Other Star Wars fans dislike the way the Jedi have been portrayed, as the series appears to be questioning the moral authority and competence of the space monks. However, this nuanced, critical view of the Jedi is far from a new development, having been introduced by George Lucas in the prequel trilogy. Now, I won't go more into the article because it's pretty much explained everything that I'm explaining now. Yeah, that's the thing, is that what it's saying here, that it's ruining Anakin's legacy. No, it's not ruining Anakin's legacy. Anakin's legacy is still Anakin's legacy. He was still a child of the Force, conceived by the Force's will, and he was the Chosen One. And, you know, the Chosen One thing, too, is just something that was conceived by the Jedi and the Sith both. They both have their own Chosen One prophecies. Like, the Sith have their Chosen One prophecy that the Chosen One is going to be a Sith Lord. The Jedi have a Chosen One prophecy that the Chosen One is going to be a Jedi and it's going to end the Sith. So they both have their narratives as far as the Chosen One prophecy goes. But we've seen that the Force has its own will, and the Force is going to move the way it moves. But it's very disheartening to see a lot of Star Wars fans just give in to these grifters that just push the whole, like, anti-woke thing and just this rage bait, because, you know, it's there's no need for it. You know, just be honest with your opinions about Star Wars. Like, one of the Star Wars creators that I really, admired for years was Star Wars Theory. And then when The Last Jedi came out, unknowingly to some people, he did like it when it came out. Like, he gave it a good review. But the more and more videos about The Last Jedi that came out that, you know, called it woke, that called it this and called it that were just pretty much rage bait, he kind of turned a new leaf, and he kind of went in that direction because he saw that it made more money. And he kind of bragged on Twitter that he makes 6 or 7 figures, yada yada whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing that that corner of the fan base relies on these YouTubers and these influencers to give them opinions rather than form their own. That's just how media literacy dies, you know. So yeah, that was the controversy surrounding the Acolyte episode 3. For those of you who have watched the episode, tell me what you think. I thought it was a fine episode. It wasn't as good as episode 2. Episode 1 was like a very a slow introduction to the series. Episode 2 picked up a little bit. Episode 3, I understand episode 3 is just supposed to give backstory, but it did it like in a very slow-paced way, which I guess isn't that bad of a thing if you're trying to give a backstory to these two twins. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the show. What do you guys think of these twins being conceived by Mother Anastasia through the Force? What do you think of this Coven's way of viewing the Force? Let me know in the comments, and Until next time, good night, everybody.